Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. I'm excited for today's guest. He is the CEO, co-founder, and head dishwasher at Voltage. And what he does is he helps people to launch, grow, scale, and exit e-commerce businesses with a specific focus on Amazon FBA. Very excited to be rocking out today with Neil Twa. Hey, Neil, you ready to rock?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on, Tim.
Awesome. So we always start off here in a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
So I think one of the most successful things that any business would like to see is when their startup actually goes okay and makes it to a position where it turns into that life-changing, that lifestyle by design. And I was blessed to be able to work at IBM for almost 5 years, which is great. And it gave me a lot of knowledge and insights and connections about business and the world of business at a very large scale. But launching my own business and just looking backwards now since 2007 when I left to do that, I think that's one of the most successful times in my business because it's when the business started. And that is literally, most times people don't understand that their opportunity begins when their excuses end. And because IBM gave me an opportunity to take an early retirement, I don't think if they had done that, I would ever made it out, quite honestly. And so there's times when these opportunities present themselves. And that's the first success metric, is getting off the couch and actually taking the first risk to get going. And my business is successful because I took the first risk.
Love it. I agree. I got a layoff package from my company too, and that's what started my business.
Took the risk and keep going. Right? Good for you. Yeah, good for you.
So now, not everything goes super smoothly. Sometimes there's some things that don't go as well as we would plan. Yeah, that's an understatement, right? But I'm wondering, can you, sort of narrow in on something that really didn't go super well in your transition or in your businesses over the last little while, and something that we can kind of avoid if we kind of see it coming, or maybe we can recover from it using your principles?
Yeah, it's always easy it's easy now to look back and see the joy in the moments and the time frame in which I left and got that going. And on this side, some of it's a little more funny than it used to be when you were living in the middle of it. But as I got married in March of that year, 2007, just in February, IBM had said, we're most likely going to do layoffs by June, or you're going to move to Argentina, or we're going to get you early retirement. We'll kind of let you know what's going on. So I got married, I got back from our honeymoon, and then they kind of let us know, hey, you can go to Argentina or you can retire. I'm like, well, I'm not going to Argentina. I just got married. I'm setting up shop in the United States. So by June, I was out of work and, the income stopped, but I got a little bit of severance from them from early retirement. So, okay, we weren't hurting terribly bad. But we, married life, and I got married at a 32. So I was kind of ready to start a family and ready to kind of move into the next stage of life. And as it turns out, by September, we were pregnant. Surprise. So, first year, starting your business, getting married, pregnant. And then about a month after we found out we were pregnant, my wife had what's called a transischemic attack, which is a mini stroke. And due to the complications of the pregnancy and stuff, that forced her to bed rest by December. And so she was no longer working. So in the course of 1 year, we went from dual income high earners to no income, pregnant, a sick wife, and just a fledgling business getting off the ground. So if I had stopped and someone had told me these things are all going to happen next year, and they could have predicted, I may have said, well, I might not want to do this. I might want to go get a job. I might want to create some more stability or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, if you could plan that, and know what's going to happen in the next year after you decide you want to start your business, then, everybody would start their business. But the end result is you don't. So we just ran into those series of troubles that, in the first year of our marriage, first year of business, having my first daughter, and just getting all of that off the ground. So that was a lot to take on in the first, 12 to 18 months of our life, our business, and our new marriage together. And those could have been potentially, killer hurdles in the business and, startups and challenges. But, I've been blessed with a wife who really understands that if I'm going to be me and I'm going to do this and I want to go out and conquer the world, that she's going to be my biggest champion. And so I've been blessed to have her as a champion. And we went through those things and continued on. And that's given us the opportunity to keep this lifestyle and evolve it together now through 4 daughters into this business model that we've been doing since 2007. So nothing was perfect on the startup. Nothing went as planned, not for the first 3 years. It just didn't happen. And it was about 3 years into it. And we can talk about maybe some of this later, but before I really even started to make some break in the business and actually get some traction in what I was doing.
Wow. So the tip here is pick the right wife.
Pick the right support group. And you'll be surprised. Sometimes they're not always as close as you would like them to be. And, most people are going to look at you and say, hey, this is the wrong time and the conditions are not great. And don't you understand the troubles here? And you're not going to always find that everybody is in your court and everybody's on your side.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think that's going to be a surprise to anybody who's listening to this.
I certainly hope not. And I certainly hope it's not the reason you're holding back, because if you want to level up to the group that you want to be in, if you want to get to the business you'd actually like to do, you have to understand a key phrase that I discovered later on and became very impactful to me. And that's who you know that gets you there. And it's what you know that keeps you there. Mm-hmm. And so it was a thing that I never fully understood in the corporate world until I got out on my own and really understood what it meant to be the business guy, the head dishwasher, the guy who cleans, and the glass man standing, and the first guy to get up, and the one who really has to dedicate their time, energy, and attention, even in the money, of course, to making it work and really being tenacious with perseverance and grit beyond others, and finding that tribe who is also doing that, or leveling that group up just above you, and just figure out a way to get with them. Get in their circle. If you got to buy your way into that circle, get into that circle, because you'll find that they are typically ones who understand these things on an intrinsic level. They have lived them, they've battled them, and those are the people you want to be in the trenches with. You don't want to be in the trenches with the people who don't understand that this is a battle, and we're all fighting it to some degree at different levels of business.
Yeah. I would echo that completely. It's all about the friends that I had, really, at the time. My friends were also my mentors, and I was also their mentor, I guess, in a certain way too. We sort of had this mastermind, even though, at the time, I don't think I saw it that way. But now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, of course. I'm looking at what they're all doing now, and they've all got sort of businesses on the go, and they're doing their things. And so it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, everybody supported each other, and, it so happens that not everybody is as fortunate to end up in those circles. It just so happened that I did.
Yeah.
But I definitely recommend it as well.
100%. Sometimes you have to buy your way in for influence, and that's fine. What it takes to knock on the door. Sometimes you got to give first to get second, and a lot of people don't understand that.
And now that I think about it, I did buy my way a little bit too, because I had joined a network marketing company, a multi-level marketing company way back when. And you know what? That was probably a start. It was one of them anyway. And maybe
I'm sure it was. I think people don't recognize you may have to buy your way into a number of areas. You can't simply just talk your way into them. When the value of what somebody has in the network, what they, the battle through the connections that they made become trusted, you can't just necessarily walk your way into it. So there's different ways to influence people into that. And one of the ways I tell people who are wanting to get started is, you need to make an irresistible offer. You need to make something that's of value to the other person beyond. If you have a website skill design, if you know how to develop something, you go to a business, you say, look, I made you a new lead gen website, and it's driving leads, and I'm going to give you the first 30 days for free of the leads. And if you love that, then the next month you're going to, it's going to be $500 a month for you to get all the leads that come in through this website. Build something, give it to them for free, make it irresistible. Why wouldn't they want free leads from you for 30 days? What if one of them turns into $1,000 a month in business? Next month, they're paying you $500. They made a net profit off of the deal, and they're going to want the next leads and the next leads and the next lead. So I think you just got to look at the audience and business and opportunity and say, what is it not what's in it for me, right? Because the byproduct of your work and your effort should be the profits gained from it. But you need to look at who am I approaching and say, what's in it for them? And how do I make them an offer they feel stupid saying yes to?
Saying no to. Yeah.
Stupid right saying no to. Excuse me, I said that wrong. Thank you. I haven't had all my coffee this morning. Make an offer they feel stupid saying no to. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I hear you there. And, nowadays too, I mean, a lot of businesses are mostly digital. There's a lot of service businesses, probably a lot more than 100 years ago. And so it only costs you your time. I mean,
well, and even in small amounts, I mean, the amount of, AI opportunities, the creator marketplace on TikTok to affiliate other people's products by just making 15 and 30-second videos. Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, when we got online and I think we're roughly the same age, but when 95, 96, 99, those years were coming online, it was kind of the Wild West of what you could kind of figure out. However, a lot of the technology, infrastructure, payment mechanisms, and adoption was not there. I mean, we were kind of like standing in the wild, that guy standing in the wild yelling at everybody like, come here, look at this amazing thing. And everybody's like, you're crazy. This is nothing. Even Bill Gates said it was nothing. Why is anybody going to need, that much storage space. And now it is so prevalent. It is so many opportunities that I think people sometimes get cost the analysis, the paralysis. They just don't know where to get started when there are so many things they think they could do. They don't end up trying any of them. But yet there are so many ways to make money online now, to provide services, provide value, provide products to people that are in demand. And even AI is a big component of that now.
Agree. So let's talk a little bit about the money, about the cash flow, and how, so now, one of the things that I think that people tend to know is that, okay, starting a business, you might be running at a loss for a little while. That seems to be something that people kind of get, but
hopefully,
is there a limit? Like how do you make sure that you're not going to end up losing your shirt?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I would say to anybody is if you think of jumping out to a business, I would not carte blanche, just leave a income producing position until such time as your business opportunity, while started with a side hustle idea, don't treat it like a side hustle or a hobby business. Treat it like, how do I create a real business that will ultimately get what I want? The motto is do something for 3 to 5 years that no one else is willing to do, so you can live like no one else can afterwards. So you need to really be thinking that in the first 12 months, could I build a business, sustain my family home and whatever's going on, and make sure I have the cash flow necessary to get it to profits? Revenue is one thing. Profits are another. Revenue is vanity, profits are sanity, and cash flow is king. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you give at least a 12-month window to say, hey, if I'm growing my business and I'm reinvesting everything for this next 3 to 5 year opportunity, then am I able to sustain my life and business with what I'm doing and have that opportunity present itself and make the change that I'm looking to make? If those are yes, then you've got to take the chance. We only have some opportunities. We get older and things get more difficult. Time and family and life embed you farther into the things that make it more difficult to escape from, whether it's debt or your mindset or your ingrained position in your corporate or business life, depending upon how you structure that. I know some business owners who want to change it and they're kind of stuck in their business. They can't quite get out of it. They're the one that's dedicated to running the shop and the 5 people or whatever, and it makes it really hard to make a change, even if they want to. So when you see that opportunity, you've got to go for it at least once if you haven't. You can't talk your way into it. You have to take action. And so many people think that they're waiting and talking and waiting and expecting a lot for free, quite honestly. And if you want free, the world of information is at your fingertips. Once again, we did not have all of that in the past. Now there is so much information and YouTube tutorial videos and training videos and things that you can start learning and just gleaning knowledge. If you want to go learn about SaaS, there are programming systems for like $9 a month that will teach you how to become a programmer. And I've put my daughters through some of them. They're very cool to see their app. There's reading instruction, there's writing opportunities to learn how to become writers. There's opportunities to just start the basic fundamentals of a private label business and understanding what it means to create a physical product that you can sell to somebody else. And so there's so much information now, I think that maybe that it doesn't help people focus to a certain degree, but I know that I just needed to pick something. I needed to pick something. I need to go try it and not be afraid to fail up. Failing up is just a learning curve that leads to experience. And if you need experience, you're going to have to try something and expect you're not going to be the best at it. And then you're going to expect that it's not going to go the way you want. And so you're going to have to keep trying until you make it go the way you want. After 3 years of struggling through that startup business, it wasn't until basically year 3, I started to cash flow. And so I was living off some savings and we were living off, a little bit of income and stuff. My wife was able to go work just a little bit more after the first pregnancy, but then she had to stop by the second. And so we had a little bit of extra time. We left the house we had built and sold it. So we had more time. We had just made the requirement of dedication, sold one of the cars to do what was necessary to make the longevity, to expand the time out, to give opportunity. I think a lot of people don't appreciate that the time you need to get something done, to figure out how it's going to go, is a time-based mechanism. It is literally the time you give it. All business has a bit of luck in it at some point, and it is usually looked at like, an overnight success. But the person who was doing it was 15 years to an overnight success. And it was basically perseverance through time and energy and attention and money that led them to have a few luck situations because they were setting in the right place because they'd given themselves the opportunity to do that. So by that cash flowing, I was actually, for me, it was mobile marketing. I'd gone online and I'd actually built some consulting and got a few consultants to work within my company at that point. And we were doing some management consulting out into the business world. And I've freed up my time a little bit more to look at the marketing side of my business. And since I'd been online but hadn't really used it as a marketing tool, I started to dig into information and knowledge and figure out how to do more online marketing to generate more leads for my business. And I stumbled across mobile advertising, which sounds kind of weird now because everybody gets advertisements on their phone. But, back in the late 2000s, that wasn't happening as much. And started to do what's called affiliate marketing, which was basically I found a service and a system that was offering a commission for every sale of their product. And these would be little sales. They'd be digital downloads. They'd be apps. They'd be installations. They'd be somebody's email address for, 75 cents, or it'd be somebody's app download for $1.50 or $3. And if I could generate the traffic for that, I would make the difference. Okay? If it was a $4 deal and I got a $2 commission off of that, then I needed to make sure I made it, a sale for $1 and made $1 off of each of those, and then repeat that process as many times as you could. So I found a couple of those. I started to go well, and surprise, one of my mobile campaigns in South Africa in a dating app actually took off like crazy. But it was 301 campaigns in before the first one became profitable. So if I'd given up at 299, if I'd given up at 300, I would not have got the first 301st campaign to actually make me money. Think about this for a second, right? And I was thousands, and I think even maybe tens of thousands, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, into debt on my credit card to make that happen. But the moment that it finally started working and I understood what I was doing wrong, and then I understood what I had done right, I was able to repeat that process until I was making $1,000 a day in profit. So all of a sudden, that debt flow and cash that I needed was now cash flowing backwards into my business, and it was covering expenses and paying off the credit cards. And I learned a really unique skill set at that point. And so I took it to a couple of other companies and said, hey, I can do the same thing for your businesses. And they said, sure, give us a try. So I gave them a try and sent them some leads, and the leads were good. And so I made some deals with them to send them more leads and started helping them blow up their businesses. But it wasn't the first campaign, the second, the 10th, the 20th, the 100th time that I tried it. It was, and maybe I'm a little dense, but it was over 300 tries. And from that point, I was now cash flowing a business beyond revenues, right? Businesses start when you make revenues. So I'd actually gone into profits, and from profits, I was able to expand that business into growth. And it's very important to understand the steps of those business. And that led me into opportunities to meet with new people and try some new trainings and make some relationships and help expand my business more in depth. And that's the process of getting to that cash flow that actually led me to Amazon, where in 2011, I discovered you could sell on Amazon, because at that point, I didn't even know you could. I knew you could sell on eBay. I think a lot of people knew that. And I understood eBay to a certain degree, but I did not understand Amazon and what they were creating until someone showed it to me. And I was like, holy cow, this is going to be huge. And at that point, it wasn't as big as it is now. It was in a fledgling growth state of moving forward. And I thought, okay, here's a new cash flow opportunity. Let's see what I can do with that.
Wow. Well, and I think that probably one of the challenges nowadays is there's so many options. There's so many things you can do.
Lots of options.
Yeah. And it's just, it's overwhelming. But I think that what I'm hearing from what you're saying is that in the end, I joke about this, you get into business. Some people get into business because they're really good at this, whatever skill that they have. And they're like,
that's right. A specific niche. I have a very specific set of skills.
Yeah. They're jealous of their boss is making all the money and I'm doing all the work type stuff. Right. And then they get into business, and then they realize really quickly that not a whole lot of time spent doing the thing that you're actually good at. There's actually a business to run.
There's a lot of other things to learn, like how do I do the accounting, and what's this mean for my income, and how do I prepare for taxes, and how do I, run operations, and other things that are not uniquely universal to all people. Much of it has to be trained.
Yeah. And so I think what ends up happening is that it doesn't matter what you do, because chances are you're not going to be doing it for very long anyway.
You're going to find something different in that will lead you to the next. So mobile marketing led me to building lead generation business, which I didn't expect I would be doing for online marketing, because now it was surpassing the management consulting company that I had before. And I wasn't going to need those guys anymore, because it was easier to run this operational business than managing people and staffing. Yeah. Right. So then I moved out of staffing into mobile and online marketing, which is quite different than the two. And so we moved from there into physical products. And the thing I liked about the world of physical products is I was introduced to that point because Amazon and Fulfilled by Amazon, or FBA as it's referred to, was about moving physical products to customers. And Amazon does that. It moves them obviously to last mile. And if you're listening to this and you or your wife or significant other or cousin or uncle or sister or somebody probably bought something on Amazon and you may have been buying it 2 or 3 times a week. Yep. They have this amazing system. It's a miracle the darn thing even works. And they deliver products to you in 2 days or less. Yep. And it's a huge infrastructure now with ships and planes and all this stuff. But back then it was just a bit of a fledgling van-based, system. They were using other logistics companies. In fact, they bought the company that became FBA to turn it into their logistical wing because all they were delivering was books at that point. And then they started to deliver more physical products into 2009. And so by 2011, they were really building that infrastructure and deploying, $1 billion or more into that. They've since deployed more than $20 billion into that infrastructure. And so I was like, hey, physical products, what I liked about it. And for those who understand, I was in a purely digital state, a purely information driven state at that point. And I've been in business long enough to understand assets are important, assets that can cash flow, assets that could either become passive or what I refer to as more, almost automated income, or the mechanisms that allow cash flow to continue, even if I'm not necessarily, I'm not at the wheel anymore, which is that trading time for money, because I had done that in the management world and even into my own business up until that point. I was trading time for money at just higher amounts, and I had other people trading time for money for me. But I really wasn't building assets and cash flow. And so when I saw that you could obviously understand the concept in its simplest form, I bought a product at one price and I sold it at a higher price. And that's basically how this works. And I discovered, well, I can make my own product and sell it for even a higher price in something called a brand. Like, okay, that's pretty cool. I understand brands to a degree. And when I brand it, I can sell it at a higher price point. Okay, let's do that 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 100,000 times. And I can take my asset of cash and not leave it just sitting there doing nothing. And I can put it into a product worth 5 to 10 times what it's worth, a physical, actual product. And I really like that idea because now I had both the digital component of the online and Amazon product marketplace. Okay. And I also had a physical asset that I controlled. So that became more of a real business model to me than just a purely digital business model.
Hi, it's Mark Mawhinney from Natural Born Coaches, and I want to give 2 very big thumbs up to Tim Melanson and his Creative Crew agency. I have been using them for a long time, and I am 100% happy. They get the job done right, they're fast, and they let me focus on my business. I don't have to worry about anything. So again, I want to give them 2 very big thumbs up. I have no problem recommending them. I don't give testimonials for everyone because my name is attached to it, but I gladly do so for Tim and the Creative Crew agency. So use them. You won't regret it, and good luck.
Wow. So I hear you have a pretty full house over there, and I'm wondering, can you share with me a little bit about how you organize your jam room and how you get?
Yeah. So the first child turned into the second, third, and fourth, all in about 4.5 years. Jokingly say that if God hadn't put a stop to it naturally, we'd probably have 8 daughters in our house because it was moving pretty quickly. But yeah, we decided that later on, as the medical conditions kind of got discovered and we needed to deal with those, that it was much easier to keep my wife and our first child and our second child kind of at home and deal with their food issues and things we needed to do medical wise. And so we kind of made the choice to very much change the way our lifestyle was originally designed and moving forward. And we were going to eventually homeschool and keep them home. And I was going to take more of the lead role in kind of leading the home and the family, if you will. And she was going to take more of a lead role in kind of being the CEO of the household and homeschooling the kids at some point in the future. So we really made a concerted effort to put our life in a position that would give us that opportunity together. And over time, that has been the format of our relationship now. We live and moved into 50 acres in the country over 10 years ago. We've homeschooled all of our daughters since then. And yes, they're not socially awkward. Yes, they can do amazing things. And yes, they are extremely smart because they get tutored one-on-one in our house. Yeah. And all of them have been tested above 2 to 3 grades above where they are. My 15-year-old is actually in college right now. So if you want to understand the power and influence of your ability to educate your children, don't ever think of that in a scarcity mindset mentality that I'm not good enough, I can't do it. There's lots of curriculum. We're in a homeschool co-op with 60 other kids and 12 other families. And we have a thing every Wednesday we go to that has to do with group learning and knowledge and activities and everything from science to mathematics to baking classes and even a home school theater co-op. And we've done 3 now of those, 30 of the kids, and put on productions in plays. And they're going to do one this coming quarter in 2024 for Anne of Green Gables. And so they've done amazing things and been out in the world and been on stage and done all these really cool things. And we've structured our home in such a way where it is, morning times are for chores because we do live with animals and we live on homestead and things have to be taken care of even when it's cold. Animals need their water. You got to go out and make sure it's not frozen. And everybody's got to get fed. So everybody has their specific set of chores for animals and other duties and activities around the house. And then they have to do their schoolwork and they sit down. And if it takes them till 2 in the afternoon to do that, to finish it correctly, then that's what it takes. If they're done by noon, then they have the rest of the day to prioritize their time however they want. Prioritize it with different things or different learning. It isn't just going and sitting in front of the television. They do activities, they craft, they sew, they do all kinds of stuff. My oldest daughter's decided she wanted to write a book a year ago. And so she's been very diligent in doing that. And she's got enough raw talent that I got her a mentor so that she could really hone those skills. And she should hopefully, she'll be 16 in June. And looks like probably right around that time, she'll be ready to launch her first book out on Amazon. It's a novel. Fiction. And so I'm excited to see that go. And she's been learning in a trade next to a mentor who is a writer and has some published New York Times bestsellers. And so they're working on that book together right now. So I got her a mentor, which is very important to do, to see if she's really wanting to do it long term and see if that raw talent can be turned into something that maybe becomes an opportunity for her life. And we go riding horses on Thursdays when it's not freezing. Right now, it's pretty cold. And we do life together. We travel as a family unit, I think. And about maybe 10 times since 2007, I've traveled away from my family just for a couple of days at the most. And usually we do things together now as a unit. And the structure has been a blessing. It has been an amazing gift to our family. It was not easy. It did come with trials. It wasn't just all, paved roads of golden bricks. It wasn't the easiest thing to do and dedicate our time and life to, but now that I have done it and we've come to an age where they're now, 10 to 15 years in age, just the fruits of that and being able to say it. In the past, I bought my time back with my family and I sacrificed to get time with my family. I will never regret that above anything that I could have gained in this world.
Wow, that's an incredibly inspiring story. And I hope more people do it because the public school system, and unfortunately I didn't. I wish I had now. Yeah, you learn a lot about the public school system. It sort of does work at the pace of the slowest student in the class. And
it does not work for the bright and shiny people who really have the, need and want to be challenged. And people are like, well, what do you do when that happens? And the objection is, well, I go get a tutor and I get them, one-on-one support. And I said, what if you just skip all that? What if you were to come the tutor? What if they had one-on-one tutoring all the time? Well, I can't afford that. Well, what if you were the tutor? Well, I don't have enough education. Actually, I think you do. Everybody needs to be a rocket scientist. Not everybody is cut out to be a lawyer. Not everybody is cut out to be in business, but everybody's able to do something and everybody has something of value. You just need to figure out what it is and give them a runway to go find out if they can do it or not.
Well, and I think that the analogy can be made with business in general. I mean, when
100%.
you start your business, are you, Warren Buffett when you start?
No. Or you're going to end up doing the same thing you started forever? Probably not. Right. Or you'll adapt something to it. And what I discovered in the business of Amazon and cash flowing e-commerce companies, really with Amazon just being the first channel. So Voltage kind of incubates brands on Amazon first. And we just prove that we can sell it in the largest market in the United States. I mean, by a long shot. And if you can sell it there, you can sell it to all the other people. So with that, it was kind of like, how do I adapt and change this? And quite honestly, it's changed 100 times since then. And in the last decade, we've been able to launch thousands of brands and even more products. And all of that is a continued change and maneuver inside of this ecosystem called e-commerce, and been able to keep that, for 10 years, I'm not bored. Things change. They're adapting. You're solving business problems. It's a new world of discovery and new changes continuously in the same framework and vertical. And, if you really understand this concept, and it's something that it's finally come to me over my thick skull over a long period of time, to become something you want to ultimately become, you need to have multiple influences in that place that can lead you through the multiple areas you're not strong in. and you cannot be strong in everything. I'm not strong in the finance and accounting and the fiscal long-term management. My business partner is, right? He's a consummate CFO, operational guy. That is his bent. That is his SD personality. We go through DISC profile analysis to determine the dominant, intrinsic, stable, conscientious aspects of people's behavior and profiles. And I'm a DI. I'm a dominant influencer personality. I'm an evangelist. I am not your consummate operational tech daily, weekly, monthly operator. That's not where I live. It's not where I'm bent. And because of that, I found people who are, and they understand they're not me and I'm not them. And that's my wife. She's the stable list making person and I'm not. And that's my business partner. He's the other half of my brain. And if you can find the kind of people in your business or life that resonate those things, that you don't have to be strong at everything. I'm no longer the guy who's the smartest guy in the room. I'm not the guy that has to have the answers anymore. And to realize and give up that idea, right? That pride that I have to know all these things, I can do all of them, and I don't need anybody else's help, is to allow others to come in and do what they're going to do, be who they are going to be, and give them a space that allows them to become that person, incubate their skills and knowledge and what they can do, and then let them run and get out of their way. And that is one of the things that was really hard for me to finally understand, is how to let go to gain by giving to others. And it's not a terrible concept, but it's terribly applied in today's world. Yeah. And it's that one of those things that I think that if you can grasp that concept, no matter what business you do, no matter what service you provide or product you move, if you're thinking about the person who's getting it first and you second, you will actually win in the end. And it's a basic concept, but it's very lost. And so I've been able to play in this area where I understand now there's multiple streams of income that are coming to me, and you need on average 7 streams of income to become a millionaire. And if you can get any of them into an almost automated state, then you don't have to spend hundreds of hours a week managing it if you do it correctly.
That's very well said. Sure. Now, question for you: how did you learn all this stuff? Where did this all come from? Like, did you have some early mentors in your career that managed to give you some of this knowledge?
Absolutely. So when I got through college to a degree, I had not really wanted to go to college. Real quick, in the Wayback Machine, I was actually going to go into the Air Force. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. That's all I wanted to do. That's what I went through, high school to do. I didn't fill out the scholarships and applications. I didn't get the counseling for what career you want to have in life. I was going to go be a fighter pilot. And by the time I got into the 11th grade, I discovered that I wasn't going to fit the profile. By that point, I was already 6'4". And the recruiters were like, "You're too tall for this cockpit. You just aren't going to fit in the fighter pilot." I was like, "Air Force or nothing." And I'm like, "Nope, you can fly the bigger planes. You can fly transports. You can fly a helicopter." I was like, "No, I want to be a fighter pilot." And they're like, "Sorry, at this point, you just don't fit the profile." Now there's bigger planes. Fast forward, I could fit the profile now, but back then I couldn't. So I'm like, that was crushing. So in my senior year, it's kind of like, what do I do now? I have to refit the whole game plan. And since I'd been in music since the 4th grade, and I had been playing music daily for hours and hours and hours, and gone to all state in Oregon and had a history of doing it, I started filling out scholarship applications for music. And I landed on a little liberal arts college in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, who gave me a full ride music scholarship. And I said, well, I guess that's where I'm going. So I picked up my bags from Oregon and went all the way to Iowa as an 18-year-old kid. I literally turned 18 in February and graduated in May. So I'm kind of that guy who's in that weird area, right? A lot of my friends turned 18 in the first part of their senior year. I didn't turn 18 till the very last part of my senior year. And then went out and started that for a while. And the internet came online and I was like, hey, I'm going to be a musician. And I realized, well, that may end up making me live in a van down by the river, which back then wasn't super cool. Today it'd be super cool. I guess that's the kind of trend. I could have put up an IG account and live streamed myself, and I'd be an online live streaming millionaire from my van by the river. But back then it wasn't as cool, and I needed to figure out what to do. And so internet led me into the place where I am now. So at the end of that, as I left and realized, that this University of Hard Knocks was basically learning through failing through experience. That is just a practice that I developed in life due to need in that way. And so I just kept failing up and failing over and failing through. And so I just kept learning and never wanting to stop learning something, and never wanting to stop trying something to see if I could do it or do it better. And if this guy could do it, why can't I? So I'm going to try it and see if I can't do it. And that was just a process of becoming who I am now. So as you go forward, as I started to do that business and get 3 years into it, I'm like, okay, I'm learning enough, I'm experiencing, but I don't know enough. Who can help me with this? And eventually found some mentors, a guy who basically helped me understand that sales fixes everything. And there's an ethical way to sell and there's a proper way to sell to people. But if you can't sell anything in business life, your software, whatnot, you will not have a company no matter how hard you try. It will not sell itself. Okay. This isn't Field of Dreams. Okay. You need to get out there and convince people that what you have is of value and get them to come along for the ride and ethically and morally do it, without being a used car salesman. And you need to figure out how to do that correctly. And then sales fixes everything. And so as we grew that out and that mentor grew, and then I got later into Amazon, and that led me, first 3 years of the business at Amazon. And I finally made a 7-figure business out of it. And we started teaching a few people who were on the side because we set up our systems. I had a lot of free time. And people were like, hey, how are you doing that? We want to do that too. And we started teaching groups of people for free. And then basically we're taking a lot of time teaching people for free. So we started small groups and little, fees just to pay for the time to get involved. And that kind of evolved into a business that led me into some real relationships and structures and doors open. And people were like, hey, you got to meet this person. And I met Kevin Harrington in 2016 at an event that we co-hosted at an event about 800 people that we were in the e-commerce world. And got kind of struck up a friendship and got to know him over the years and did some business. And he led me into more relationships. Mm-hmm. Again, who that gets you there and what that keeps you there, right? And so I just kept evolving that and doing my best to keep my reputation above board, because you can spend an entire lifetime building a reputation and lose it in 30 seconds. So I was very cautious about how I managed that. And so those relationships led me to more coaching. And then when I had more capital and I knew that there was something I needed to know over here, something I wanted to learn over there, I'm like, well, who's the best guy in our network or person in our network or girl or whatever? And they were like, well, you got to go to such and such because he knows that or she knows that. And I was like, hey, what's it cost to get an hour of your time? I don't want it for free. I'm not just going to tap you on the shoulder and pick your brain and this kind of stuff. It's like, pick your payment. Okay, well, how much? So that allowed me to open additional doors and I structured some relationships with some groups with alternatives to investing. E-commerce is really an alternative investment, what we call wealth without Wall Street, and has evolved into the business that Voltage is doing today in this space.
I wish we had a lot more time because your story is fantastic, but it is time.
I missed a couple of pieces of it that are probably not interesting to anybody else but my mom. But
no, it's a great story.
It's been a while.
But yeah, well, what's exciting in your business? Let's go to your guest solo.
Yeah, well, I mean, in simple terms, I'm honored and I'm going to say this pridefully. I just launched my first book last Friday, and so it's a real book. And we took almost a year to put it together, and it launched January 5th. So that's now out in the market. It's called Almost Automated Income with FBA, and it's about building businesses and lifestyle by design and building them to an exit profitably. Kevin wrote the foreword for me. I was honored to have him write the foreword for the book. I've got 15 targeted experts in the book who work under the same kind of e-commerce model we do, speaking about the same playbook strategy that Voltage developed over the last 10 years. Been responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars in sales in the marketplace. And so that allowed us to kind of compile this knowledge and expertise into a readable format that literally kind of either goes by the playbook step by step to kind of help put your mind around how to build and structure one of these businesses so it can be something that in 3 to 5 years has a potential generational wealth exit when done correctly, and or skip through if you're already selling to some degree into a chapter and read some knowledge and nugget bombs in there that will, knowledge bombs that will give you the opportunity to learn something maybe you didn't. And so that's gone to market. So I'm really excited to kind of bring that out more this year, and it's been well received. And we were just number one new release on the marketplace for both web marketing, small business, self-employment. Took the top 1 spots for those, and hopefully we can hold on to them for a while, which would be great. So that's what's really exciting in my business right now in this moment. If you ask me, like, what else am I excited about in the rest of the year? We've now gotten to a position where we've got some real strong strategic partnerships with investment capital groups now that we've built up some of those relationships over time. And we're going to be buying some companies this year. So we're looking for companies that are more than $1 million in EBITDA. Or so what's called solid discretionary earnings. And we're going to be buying e-commerce companies. And hopefully the first one this quarter is on deck. We've got a couple in mind. And we hope to do maybe a couple of those, maybe 4 of them this year if we hit our target. And so we're going into acquisition mode this year. So we've kind of evolved through doing the business ourselves and continuing daily, weekly, monthly to operate our own brands. We've brought a lot of people along with us over the years to learn how to do this under a mentoring and consulting relationship. Kind of a bit of skin in the game, as I like to say, because I believe in putting something forward. I put part of my fees are performance based and have to meet certain metrics. And I've had a number of wonderful success stories that I've been blessed to be a part of with some really great operators and people who really put that perseverance and grit and tenacity to the test by their own nature and found e-commerce to be successful for them, which is wonderful. And we're going to keep working with more of them this year as well. And so that's what I just feel blessed to continue to go another year, and the life that I've created here with myself. God's blessed me with this opportunity to be here, and I'm just going to keep going forward with it this year and see what happens.
Nice. So who would be the ideal client that would get the most out of working with you?
So in simple terms, it's a profile. Well, everybody doesn't want to be profiled. I know you just said the big negative word, but at the end of the day, we all have a certain kind of profile of aptitude, skill sets. Some of us are more dominant in nature. Some of us are less dominant. Some of us feel like we're more influential than we are. And there's, some of us are more steady, conscientious people who are just like, give me a path, give me a plan, and I'll just do that. I don't need to be that guy or person. I just want to, do the plan, see it, follow the plan. So we have everybody take what's called a DISC assessment profile, DISC. And what it does is it not only helps them understand what's their business aptitude. It's not a INJF emotional kind of Myers-Briggs thing. It's more about what is your aptitude in business, where are your strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats to a degree, and then take those and determine, does that fit the best profile of an operator? So a best profile of an operator is someone who's really more, has a bit of dominance to them per se, but more steady and stable. They like to know what the daily, weekly, monthly components are. They understand that e-commerce is more of an operational opportunity to move physical products. Maybe they're like, hey, I don't want to be in customer service. That's great. You don't have to do a whole lot of customer service. And maybe I don't want to be twerking on TikTok. Well, you don't have to do that in this kind of business model. You don't have to be the social media brand influencer. So that's not your thing. This is not for you. And usually there are people who understand that building a business takes 12 months or more. They really understand real business is done in 3 to 5 year metrics. They understand that, hey, if I'm going to put a lot of energy and time and money into this business, I know in the first 12 months, if I can get to revenues and I can see my way to profit through months, 12 and 24 and 36, and that gives me a real opportunity to cash flow assets, create most, automated income, and even make it passive. If an account management team, we have one, can take over a business that's now being built up and we can turn it into a passive income opportunity for those inside of our group, then they understand the business and growth is time and education, and they're willing to give it the opportunity that it makes. They know it's not, $1 million in purchases for the business, but it's also not a $10,000 deal to start a real company. They understand that capital is a requirement of business, and we buy physical inventory, and they understand you have to have capital to buy a physical inventory business model, and that it is a capital intensive model because of the business, like real estate. And so if they understand the real estate and they understand investing and they understand alternatives and wealth, without Wall Street, and maybe they're not willing to put a whole lot of money in the stock market anymore, and they're looking for other places to do it. And they're willing to shave off 15 to 20 hours a week in a lifestyle-driven mechanism, meaning they can do it when they're not in their job or on the weekends or whenever they have an opportunity to learn and grow and execute the plan. Then they're kind of meeting some of the criteria that's part of my best builder profiles. It's a criteria that allows them to go to 7, 8 figures in the business and still maintain that same 15 to 20 hour a week workload. That's what we wrote into the book. That's the opportunity to do it right on scale with these new systems and automation, and things that are literally just a few years back weren't even possible, are now possible to literally operate these companies at scale without employees. Have no employees, have no warehouse. I don't have that kind of overhead, but we have the opportunity to move packages using Amazon's infrastructure right to your doorstep. You may have even bought some of our products and didn't know it.
I might have, because I did buy from Amazon.
It's very possible.
So how do we find out about you?
I got a short last name. It is Twa, TWA. So you can Google me and you'll find all my social media stuff. Click over to voltagedm.com. When did you find it? That's Voltage Digital Marketing, or dm.com. The book is on there. There's a copy for 99 cents on Kindle right now while we're doing the promos, and it may be changed by the time this is published, and that's okay. It's going to be relatively inexpensive. And then check out the podcast, VSLs and stuff we got there to tell you a little bit about our business and overview and explain what's going on with our model. And if you feel so inclined, connect with me. I'm out there and I'm willing to chat with you. I don't have a sales and I have a marketing team. It's not how this works. Our groups in our mastermind and coaching are by invitation only. So you'd have to talk to me and make sure we're a good fit and that it's a good opportunity for everybody. And we have all the expectations clear.
Great. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Neil. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Tim. I'm honored and I appreciate your time and with me today. And thanks for everybody joining in.
No problem. Yes. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.